seen the dog I couldn't catch. I said, well, you were sitting. He went ahead.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
On this beautiful day we've been blessed with, we're so glad that you came to worship together today. Let's take a look at our bulletin. We'll see some of the things going on in the life of the church. You have an insert in there. This talks about our Week of Compassion. Week of Compassion is the arm of the Disciples of Christ, our denomination, that responds to tragedies, to disasters, things like hurricanes and tornadoes and floods and tsunamis and things like that. Whenever there is an event like that, for instance, a few years ago when the tornado was in Joplin, within hours, people from the Week of Compassion were on the ground in Joplin, working through our churches there, helping the community. There's information there in that insert, tell you all about what they do, and if you'd like to donate to them, put that in that envelope there. If it's a check, Dixie, who should they make the check out to? To Week of Compassion or to us?
Merriam Christian, and then put Week of Compassion.
Okay, if you put a check in here, make it out to Merriam Christian Church, and just in the memo line or in this envelope, put Week of Compassion, and we'll make sure that that goes directly to this part of our denomination. So that information's in there for you to look at. Looking ahead at this week, if you have anything for the church newsletter, please get that into the church by Friday at noon. A couple items we have coming up. We have our next table talk will be next Sunday, the 3rd. That is a small informal lunch that we do right after this service where some of us sit down, we all kind of pitch in for the lunch. Somebody brings some bread, somebody brings some lunch meat, somebody brings something to drink or some chips, and we just have an informal conversation about life and faith and spirituality. If you'd like to join in that conversation, we'll be doing it next Sunday. There's a sign-up sheet outside the office. Please make sure you sign up so that we know who's coming, so you can sign up to bring something to pitch in for the lunch there. Our next game night is going to be on Saturday, March 9th at 5 o'clock here down in the fellowship hall. Anybody's welcome to come to that. We get some games. Last time we played a train game of some kind, and somehow I ended up being a buxom saloon woman. I don't know how that happened. Even after enduring that embarrassment, I still lost somehow. I think you should get extra points just for being willing to be the buxom saloon lady. But it was a fun night. We get together, we bring some appetizers, snacky type foods, and we sit around and play games. That'll be at 5 o'clock on March 9th. It is, we're going to be doing kind of a St. Patty's Day theme with it. So wear your green, bring your Irish with you. Maybe we can scrape up a little corned beef and cabbage and make it a fun night. So that's going to be on March 9th. We are going to start a new small group study for Lent. There's information here on the back of your bulletin. We're going to be studying the book Because of This I Rejoice, which is a 6-week study through the book of Philippians. You will need to purchase the book. It's about $10 on Amazon. I did go ahead and purchase 10 of them. So if you'd like to take the study and haven't ordered a book yet, you'd like to just get it from me, that's fine. We can work that out. Just let me know that you need one. I have those books. They'll be coming in tomorrow. Lent is going to be starting on Wednesday, March 6th. Not this Wednesday, but the week after. We will have an Ash Wednesday service at 7 p.m. that night to kick off the journey of Lent. Please, if you're available, make plans to come. We'll be here in the sanctuary for that. One of the last things I want to make sure I mention, we've had some folks mention to us that they're unsure of who their shepherds are. There is a list outside the office on the bulletin board of all of our shepherds and everybody who's in their flock. Look through that list and find your name. At the top of the page, it will say who your shepherd is. There is no reason for adults not to know who their shepherd is. That information is available. Please look it up so that you know. And when you see who it is, think back over the last few weeks, and see, that person did call me a time or two. I guess it wasn't just that we've known each other for 60 years, but they were my shepherd. So please take a look at that. The information is available there. Are there any other events coming up? Yes, Jackie?
This Thursday at 9 a.m. at Big Biscuit.
This Thursday at 9 a.m. at Big Biscuit, Bill Roseheim, our regional minister, is going to be giving a talk on, remind me?
Ghana.
Ghana. He and a group of regional ministers went to Ghana last year. He's going to be talking about the disciples' work on the ground there and other things that we can do. It will be at the Big Biscuit at 9 a.m. Thursday morning. If you're interested in that, please call and let me know. My number's on the back of the bulletin so that we can give them an accurate count of how many people will be there. Are there any other amendments? If you look on the inside of your bulletin, you will see our prayer list. Folks who want to remember to keep in our prayers. Obviously, we want to keep the Crow family in our prayers. We had Lee Crow's funeral here at the church yesterday. Thank you to everybody who pitched in with the funeral dinner, who came to the service and to celebrate Lee's life. The family greatly appreciated that. We do want to keep Dorothy in our prayers. For those of you who came yesterday, you know Dorothy had a horrible nosebleed that started when she got here and continued for over 2.5 hours. We got down to the cemetery. They took her to the hospital to find out why it was still bleeding. She is still in the hospital this morning. She's been diagnosed with pneumonia. So please keep Dorothy in your prayers. She is supposed to move into her new senior living facility today. Now, I don't know if the family's getting their stuff moved over, and we'll get her transferred as soon as they can, but please keep her in your prayers. Also, a couple more to mention. Bob Pate mentioned in the first service his brother's mother-in-law, Betty Stinson, passed away. Please keep the Stinson family in your prayers. Also, we found out that Donna Ward fell this week. She did not break anything, but she has some deep bruising. She's very, very, very sore. So please keep Donna Ward in your prayers. I would also ask for prayers for the family of Shirley Perderis. I did Shirley's funeral service on Monday. I'd ask you to keep the Perderis family in your prayers at this time. Are there any others we'd like to lift up? Any joys or concerns that we have together today? If not, then let us prepare our hearts and our spirits for a time of worship together as we listen to our morning prelude.
Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice. We gather to worship God with all our hearts, mind, and spirit. Please stand able and join in the call to worship printed in your bulletin. Trust in the Lord and do good, so that you will live in the land and enjoy security.
Take delight in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart.
Commit your way to the Lord.
Trust in Him, and He will act.
Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him.
For those who wait for the Lord shall inherit the land.
The salvation of the righteous is from the Lord.
God is their refuge in the time of trouble. Our song of praise this morning is found on page 234. 234, Crown Him with Many Crowns. We should play that, what's that game show? The Price is Right. We should play that one. Right? We should have the spotlight circle around the land on. You're the next contestant! Excellent. Late night at grandma's, ladies? Yeah. You grandmas are the worst. These kids are exhausted. What is that? It's a heart. Absolutely. What does a heart mean to you? Special? Maybe love? Do you think of love when you see a heart? I think of love. Who's somebody that you love? Mom and dad. Of course we love mom and dad. Who's somebody that you love, Charlie? Same? Is that what you said? Same? Right. We love mom and dad, don't we? Do you have friends that you love? Friends that are really special to you? Right? Somebody you're really close with that you love? Say it again. You like your mommy's long hair? Excellent. If she thinks about cutting it, you should let her know this is a vote against. Well, let me ask you about some other people. Are there some people in our life that is really hard to love? Is there anybody at school or when you're playing on the playground that is maybe mean to you? Have you ever had that happen? Somebody be mean to you? No? Sometimes people aren't very nice to us, and it's hard to love those people, isn't it? When they're not nice to us, when they hurt our feelings, Right? When they take something that's ours, it's really hard to love them, isn't it? Well, Jesus was talking one day to people, and he said, you know what? It's easy to love people like mom and dad, people who love you back. It's easy to love people like our friends, but I want you to love everybody, even your enemies. I want you to love the people that are mean to you. I want you to love the people that take stuff from you. I want you to love the people that hurt your feelings. Well, that's a lot harder to do, isn't it? It's really hard to do that. I mean, it's easy. I love my mom too. And that's easy to do because she loves me. But it's hard to love somebody who's mean to me. But that's what Jesus wants us to do. He wants us to love the people that even hurt our feelings. Because when we do that, then we show the world how big God's love really is. That it's not just for the people I love, but it's even for the people that hurt me and that aren't nice to me. And when we do that, it shows people just how big God's love is. So let's say a little prayer. We're going to bow our heads. We're going to fold our hands. Lord Jesus, it is easy to love the people that love us. But Lord, help us to be better followers of you than that. To help us to love the people that are mean to us, the people that aren't nice to us, that they might see God's love in us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. You ladies can go with Miss Jackie if you want. She'll take you to children's church.
The first scripture reading, a word of God for the people of God, from Genesis 45, 3 to 11 and 15. Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father alive? But his brothers could not answer him. So dismayed were they at his presence. Then Joseph said to his brothers, Come closer to me. And they came closer. He said, I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed or angry with yourselves because you sold me here. For God sent me before you to preserve life. For the famine has been in the land these 2 years, and there are 5 more years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvest. God sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant on earth, and to keep alive for you many survivors. So it was not you who sent me here, but God. He has made me a father to Pharaoh, and a lord of all his house, and a ruler over all the land of Egypt. Hurry and go up to my father and say to him, Thus saith your son Joseph, God has made me Lord of all Egypt. Come down to me, do not delay. You shall settle in the land of Goshen, and you shall be near me, you and your children and your children's children, as well as your flocks, your herds, and all that you have. I will provide for you there, since there are 5 more years of famine to come, so that you and your household and all that you have will not come to poverty. And he kissed all his brothers and wept upon them. And after that his brothers taught him.
Our song of prayer this morning is found on page 263. Surely the presence of the Lord. We're going to sing it through twice.
I see
If able, would you please rise? Almighty and gracious God, the hardest thing you have asked of us was that we love our enemies. We know how we'd like to love them. We'd like to love them far away. We'd love for them not to compromise our security. We'd love for them not to scare us or change the way we live. We'd love for them to be lovable. But if loving enemies was easy, then Jesus wouldn't have told us about tax collectors and Gentiles who love only their friends. If loving enemies was easy, we wouldn't need God's strong arms to bear us up in difficult times. We wouldn't need the blood of Christ to save us from our sin. We wouldn't need the Spirit flowing among us, wiping our tears. We wouldn't need the Bible to tell us what the world does not. God of all mercy, who loved us when we were yet sinners, who saved us through immeasurable grace, who gave us a gift we did not deserve, let us imitate you by loving those who are yet our enemies. Teach us to know how to love enemies, to wish them the best of the life you intend each of your children to have, and then pray and act so those wishes may come true. Teach us to hope, so that we know that with your blessing, impossible dreams become reality. Teach us faith, so we know that only the strength to stop hating will halt the cycle of violence and revenge. Teach us forgiveness, which we ask from you only as we are able to offer it to others. Teach us, O Lord, your ways. When this community looks at this gathering of believers, this fellowship of faith, this congregation that gathers in your presence, when they hear our words and see our deeds, help them to know that the God of love lives among us. Help them to know they can come to know that love. We pray all of this in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ, who taught us to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
A word of God for the people of God from Luke 6:27-38. But I say to you that listen, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, praise for those who abuse you. If anyone strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also. And from anyone who takes away your coat, do not withhold either your shirt. Give to everyone who begs from you, and if anyone takes your goods, do not ask for them again. Do to others as you would have them do to you. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. If you do good to those who do good to you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. If you lend to those from whom you hope to receive, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners to receive as much again. But love your enemies, do good, and lend, expecting nothing in return. Your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High, for He is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. Be merciful, just as your Father is merciful. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For the measure you give will be the measure you give back.
Amen.
Yesterday, after the funeral we had here at the church, we provided a funeral dinner for the family. And as that was wrapping up, I went to the kitchen to give all of our tireless workers a hand. And I was standing over by the dishwasher. Alan Watts is our dishwasher. He was running it diligently. And at one point, he turns to me and he says, "What's the sermon tomorrow?" I guess he was trying to figure out if it was worth coming or not. He said, "What's the sermon about?" And I said, "It's about loving your enemies." And he's like, "We just talked about that, didn't we?" And I said, yeah, it was a couple weeks ago, Valentine's Day. I said, we talked about all you need is love. I said, this is specifically about loving your enemies, though. I got to thinking about it, and I thought, Jesus gave us 3 pretty basic instructions. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, spirit. Love your neighbor as yourself. And love your enemies. And to be quite honest with you, we struggle with all 3 of them. We really haven't mastered any of them yet. I mean, really, when you consider those 3 instructions, that's kind of Jesus 101. Right? If you're going to get what Jesus was about, those 3 instructions are kind of foundational to what Jesus talked about. We haven't mastered them yet. We haven't quite got them down yet. We still struggle with all 3 of them. So we're going to talk about them again, probably more than once. You'll probably see us talk about love again, because I just don't feel that we've quite grasped all the nuances that Jesus was talking about. So we're going to talk about loving your enemies today. Jesus in his Sermon on the Mount says, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you. If anyone strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also. If anyone takes away your coat, give them your shirt as well. Give to everyone who begs from you. If anyone takes your stuff, don't ask for it back. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's a pretty tall order. Love your enemies. I got to be honest, as I said, I still struggle with loving my neighbor, who I think is a moron. Loving your enemies is a mighty high bar to have to aim for, but okay, that's Jesus' instruction. He says, love your enemies. I need to love my enemies. So the first thing I have to do is figure out who is my enemy. It's kind of a weird concept to consider. When I think about the word enemy, who is my enemy? Of course, I put it in the context of superheroes, right? Superman's enemy is Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor is a billionaire global technological industrial mastermind who is committed to destroying Superman at all costs. Right? That's his enemy. That's easy to see. Everything that Lex Luthor does is to destroy Superman. That's his enemy. I don't know that I have anybody in my life that committed to my destruction. Certainly I don't have any billionaire global technological geniuses trying to destroy my life. So I have to think about who is my enemy. I have to expand my thinking. When I think larger, more globally, who is my my enemy? Do I have enemies? Well, my country certainly has enemies. Right? I mean, we can all agree. ISIS is the enemy of America. And I'm American. So by default, ISIS would be my enemy. They want to hurt America, and by connection, Americans, which I am one. So okay, they're my enemy. So Jesus says, love your enemies, do good to those that hate you. Okay, I can think about this on that scale and say I should love my enemies, right? ISIS is my enemy because they are our enemies, so I can apply my faith on this global, international, political scale. How can I love my enemy there? Well, certainly I can recognize that I believe that most members of ISIS have never been to America, have probably never met an American. So why do they hate us? Well, there's economic and political machinations that have affected people in these nations where ISIS thrives. There's poverty, hunger, homelessness, and oppression. And along the way, people in these desperate situations have been told that America did that to them or contributed to that in some way. So they hate us and want to do us harm. Certainly I can recognize that on a global scale, America's economic, military, and foreign policies have adversely affected other nations and peoples, sometimes in negative ways. When it comes to our role in the international arena over the past 100 years, when we truly became a force in global matters, we have to admit that sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes we weren't wearing the right hat. Sometimes, and so yes, I can see our role in this situation, how people might come to dislike us. So how can I love my enemy then, so that they experience the love of God through me and my actions, and maybe they're affected or changed in some way? Well, I suppose I can support policy initiatives that bring humanitarian aid to regions hit hardest by global economic downturns and crippling poverty. I can support NGOs that directly work with people on the ground in these countries, that they might come to know that we're all children of God and trying to make it in this world. Maybe we can find some common ground between us. I can advocate for political solutions that take the humanitarian cost into account when figuring our role in international interactions. All this is a way, I suppose, that I can love my enemy. Here's the thing. As devastating, as horrible, as terrible as things like terrorist attacks are, and they are absolutely abominations, I don't know that I have ever been directly impacted by them. I have not personally ever lost someone to a terrorist attack. As a matter of fact, most statistics show us you're more likely to get struck by lightning than be hurt in a terrorist attack. We see it a lot on the news, but I have never personally been directly affected or impacted or connected to one of these events. And that is to say this, I think it's an ethereal, theoretical, disconnected position for me to say that my enemy is ISIS and I need to learn how to love them. I do, and it bears mentioning, but is that what Jesus was talking about here in the Gospel of Luke? I'm just not sure. Now, don't get me wrong. We need to apply our faith to international, global political situations. We need to apply our faith should inform our politics and the policies we support and advocate for. But was Jesus really saying, love your enemies about global international events? I mean, when you think about this carpenter's son, this is a guy whose first public miracle was not convening an international roundtable to discuss the impacts of Roman policies on taxation for Jewish farmers. His first miracle was to turn water into wine at a wedding. I mean, you can picture it, can't you? He said this was obviously somebody he knew in some way, either a family friend or maybe a personal friend of his or maybe a cousin. Right? We've all been to those weddings where we show up because somehow we're distantly connected to what's going on. right? And Jesus is at the wedding. It's a good time. Weddings are a party, right? So he's hanging out. He's sitting over in one of the folding chairs on the side, right? He's not dancing because guys don't look cool when we dance, so he's hanging back a little bit. And his mom comes running over and she says, Jesus, they just ran out of wine. And I'm sure his first reaction was, well, we might as well go then. I mean, party's going to wrap up. Might as well head home. And she's like, no. Do your thing. Right? Because that's how moms are, right? Right? You're in a public situation, your mom's like, show them what you can do. And Jesus is like, Mom, not the time. Not the place. And she's like, come on. You did it in the bathtub the other night. Right? Come on. So Jesus walks over to the big jugs of water and he has them pour them out. And they pour them out, they turn into wine, and the party is saved. Think about this. His first miracle had no global impact whatsoever. His first miracle simply saved the family of the bride from being embarrassed. They didn't provide enough wine for all their guests. I don't know that Jesus was thinking globally when he said, love your enemies. I don't think he was weighing in on Roman foreign policy initiatives. Jesus' whole ministry was a local ministry. His whole ministry occurred within an area. If you were to look at a map and you were to draw a circle of the Kansas City area from Bonner Springs to Blue Springs and from Kearney to Gardner, that's the area that Jesus' whole ministry occurred in. Jesus was about the personal, the connected, the local. He was a local guy, a hometown. Just a couple weeks ago, we talked about him going back to his hometown synagogue and preaching. This is the guy saying, love your enemies. Maybe he meant something more personal, more local, more close to home. I have a friend who a few years ago went through a rather contentious divorce. His wife cheated on him. He caught her in their bed while the kids were in the house. And it was not a horrible situation. Awful for everybody involved. I can safely say he hates her. And to be fair, she hates him too. I mean, it's mutual. These are two people that wouldn't throw water on the other if the other was on fire. And they hate each other. It's been 5 years since they got divorced. And I am, without a doubt, I am positive he hates her more today than he did 5 years ago. Everything about her puts him on edge. Everything she says, everything she does, everything that he thinks she is saying or doing makes him just as mad. I mean, this is a deep, personal, passionate hate. Right? This isn't like, I hate Texas Tech because they beat up on the Jayhawks last night. Not that kind of hate. Right? Because they did, and we do. Not the same thing. That was a woman, by the way. That was a pair. I'm going to call 911. Since Mr. J. Hawk just got assaulted once. This is a hate that goes deeper than that. This is a hate that burns a fire deep inside them. They hate one another. All the time I'm telling them, man, you gotta let this go. This is eating you up. Well, it is killing you inside to carry this hate around. And if I was friends with her, I don't really have communication with her anymore when they got divorced. He got me in the divorce, right? Those things, you've got to pick one. But I would tell her the same thing. This hate's doing nothing but chewing you up. When you consider this relationship, the idea of an enemy starts to come home. Starts to become personal, relatable. They are enemies. So who is my enemy? Who has hurt me? betrayed me? Who has abandoned me? Who has stuck the knife in deep between my shoulder blades and simply walked away? Who do I no longer talk to? Who do I no longer communicate with or about? Who do I no longer consider because of how they treated me? This person or persons, that is my enemy. Jesus was talking to us about our personal lives, our communal lives, because he knew that in our walk, in our journey, we would get hurt. We would be attacked more often than not by someone we knew and loved. Because that's the hurt that dives deepest, isn't it? Isn't that the scar that continues to ache the most? Isn't that the pain that continues to impact me every day the most? Isn't that the wound that refuses to heal? Who is your enemy? On a global, international scale, sure, ISIS doesn't like us very much, and they're our enemy, okay. But you know what? They've never met us. They haven't gotten to know us. They haven't been allowed to see my soft underbelly. You have to get close to me to really hurt me. Jesus says if someone smacks you on the cheek, ISIS isn't smacking me on the cheek. You got to be within arm's reach to do that. You got to be close to me to really hurt me. You have to know my fears and insecurities to really hurt me, because those are going to be the wounds that I remember, that will fester, that I'll bring up for years and years. Look at our first scripture reading this morning from Genesis, the story of Joseph and his brothers. There were 12 brothers altogether. Joseph was the second youngest. He was not the youngest. Benjamin was the youngest, but Joseph was the second youngest. However, Joseph was his father's favorite son. Now, this isn't just some sibling rivalry or jealousy going, right? This isn't this thing of, you were always dad's favorite. Joseph's dad made it known that Joseph was his favorite, right? I mean, it was literally, I love you all, but I love Joseph best. I mean, it was obvious. They're sitting at Sunday dinner. Trust me, Dad was saying, Joseph, whom I love more than everybody else, pass me the chicken. It was obvious. And his brothers hated him. Not a little bit. They hated Joseph. So one day they get so mad that they drag him out and they beat him up and they sell him into slavery. Now understand, I am an oldest brother. I have 2 other brothers. And it's not that I have not considered that option. But they went through with it. They sold him into slavery. And his life from that point for the next several years was hell. He was a slave. He finally found a house that he started to get a little traction in. Maybe life started to look up a little bit. And then the owner of the house, his master, suspected he was sleeping with his wife. So he threw Joseph in jail to die. Joseph's life, and that's about as awful. You got to imagine he was sitting in that jail cell day after day, and all he could think about was those 11 brothers and how much he hated them. Now, of course, the story has a happier ending. Joseph is able to interpret dreams. The Pharaoh is having dreams and hears about Joseph and brings him from the jail. And Joseph interprets the dreams. And the Pharaoh is so impressed that he puts Joseph in charge. He makes him one of his top guys, gives him a place and position and power in Egypt. And you have to understand that Egypt in the world at that time of Joseph was the world power. Right? It'd be like getting a position of power in the United States government of today. That's how powerful Egypt was. So Joseph's story turned out pretty well. But one day Joseph is sitting in his office, right? And he's signing memos, because that's what you end up doing when you actually get into those positions, is you sign memos. And he's sitting there, and all of a sudden there's a knock on the door, and they said, hey, there's some guys from the next country over who want to ask you about something. And in come 10 of his brothers, who beat him up years ago when he was a child and sold him into slavery. And they're coming into his office and they don't recognize him, but he recognizes them. And I want you to imagine him sitting there, seeing them walk in, the bile and the disgust and the hate that must have risen up in his throat. After all these years, who is my enemy? Your true enemy isn't some faceless, nameless entity across the sea. Your true enemy is the person or persons in your life that have hurt you so deep that their very presence causes you pain. That is who Jesus is referring to when he says, love your enemies. Do good to those that hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who abuse you. If someone strikes you on the cheek, offer them the other cheek. If someone takes your coat, offer them your shirt. What did Joseph do when his attackers, his betrayers, his brothers came into his presence? You understand the powerful position he was in. He could have turned to his guards without a moment's notice and said, kill these fools. And it was done. He didn't need to have a reason. He could make one up later. They're thieves, they're crooks, they look shifty. I didn't like them. He could have gotten the ultimate retributive revenge. He could have beaten them and sold them into slavery. Right? That would have been an ending we'd all be like, yeah, that's right. That's right. Got what you deserved, didn't you? What does Scripture tell us he did? It says he went up to him and he kissed him. He said, it is I, Joseph, your brother. And he says, I know, don't worry about what happened before. Go and get our father. Bring him to me. I'm going to take care of you now. You're going to live here with me, your children, and your children's children. I'm going to take care of you. Who is your enemy today? Not your far away, never interacted with global enemy that you only ever see on the news. But who is the person that hurt you deepest?
3 comes a great responsibility to give back from thankful hearts. We offer our tithes and offerings to God in response to God's blessings. How are you responding to your responsibility to give to God? How are you thanking God for all God has blessed you with? Would the elders and the deacons please come forward?
We come now to God's table to break bread and share a cup. We come to this table that we might be touched once again by God's love and hope and grace and forgiveness. That we might be filled with these things, reminded of these things, and then that we might take these things out with us. That we might love God, that we might love neighbor, and that we might even love enemy with the grace that we find here. Let us gather together at God's table today. Our song of communion is found on page 97. 97, Fairest Lord Jesus.
Will
blessed it, he broke it. He passed it to them, and he said, "This is my body that is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." The same manner he took the cup, and after blessing it, he passed it among them, saying, "This cup is my blood of the new covenant that is shed for you and for many. When you eat this bread and drink this cup, do it in remembrance of me."
Let us pray. Our gracious God, as we take the bread representing your Son's body that was broken for us, we remember and celebrate his faithfulness to us. We can't begin to know the agonizing suffering of his crucifixion, yet he took the pain for us and died for us. As he instructed his disciples, we too receive this bread in remembrance of him. And in the same way, we take this cup representing his blood poured from a splintered cross. We realize that he was the supreme sacrifice for our sins. Because of his blood shed for us and his broken body, we can be free. And today we remember and celebrate the precious gift of life he gave us. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Our song of commitment today is found on page 434. God be with you till we meet again. We're going to sing the first, third, and fourth verse. When I was pastoring my first church, we would sing this as the last song in the service quite often. I grew up in a church where we sang it almost every week. I noticed there was one gentleman in the church who every week when we'd sing it, he would get teary-eyed as we sang it. So I asked him once, I said, why does this song affect you so deeply? What is it about this song? And he said, when I was a young man, he said, this is the last song we sang in church before I went off to serve in World War II. He said, I remember singing this song in church, and he said the ladies in church had tears in their eyes because their sons and brothers and husbands were going off to war. He said, I remember this because that song holds that weight for me. He goes, we were getting ready to go do this thing, and this was what we took with us. He was getting ready to go face that enemy. And the church said, God's going to go with you. As you go out this week, I don't know what your week or your month or your year might hold, but I'm going to bet at some point you're going to cross paths with that person who has hurt you, who has wounded you, who has cut you so deeply. I want you to know when you go out there, when that encounter happens, you don't go alone. God is with you on that journey. Please stand if able. We'll sing verses 1, 3, and 4. God be with you till we meet again. Most gracious and holy God, we have gathered in your presence today. We have lifted your name on high. We have come to your table and accepted your grace for our lives. Send us out into the world now, Father, full of your love, that we may show the world that we love God with all of our heart and soul and mind, that we may love our neighbor as ourselves, and that we may even love those who have hurt us, who have wounded us, who have pained us. We may even love our enemies. For it is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.